Senate Bill 1556. It is about the production of adult beverages that are hemp, THC derived from hemp. There are a lot of people that are pushing it. TJ Shope is the senator that has sponsored this bill. To talk about this from another point of view is the Yavapai County Sheriff, David Rhodes. Sheriff Rhodes, welcome back.
Good morning, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Why is this? What is it about SB 1556 that you are so against, and why speak out against it? What will this do that you believe will be damaging?
Well, basically, when the voters approved Prop 207, the Smart and Safe Act, which legalized marijuana for recreational use, the cities, the towns, the local governments, law enforcement, public safety, public health, the communities, everybody came together to form a regulatory structure for the distribution of THC products for recreational use. And the THC-infused hemp drinks that are just the drinks or any edibles, for that matter, that are being sold commercially at all of these other outlets were never contemplated. They're outside of the current regulatory structure. And we became aware that the lobbyists were using an argument that there was no law enforcement around THC hemp or THC-infused products, and therefore Senate Bill 1556 was necessary literally to keep these products out of the hands of young people and unsuspecting people. And so our opinion was that those products already are illegal to be sold in the way that they're being sold. And so the law as it exists right now is plenty sufficient to keep them from being sold to young people, because if they were being sold in the dispensaries like the public, like the legislature, like everybody agreed to, then young people or other unsuspecting people would not be able to get their hands on them. So Senate Bill 1556 was just simply not necessary to achieve the stated goal of keeping them out of the hands of young people. And so we took a position of opposition. We certainly recognize that the legislature can amend the law. There can be any type of regulation or legalization or whatever that they want to do. But the law as it exists right now is plenty sufficient.
Are some of these products, and I'll be honest, this is not something that I don't use marijuana. I've never have, so I'm a little bit ignorant on this. Are these products being sold right now outside of dispensaries? Are they accessible to the public in convenience stores and other places?
Well, they are being sold outside of the dispensary. They're being sold commercially by retailers and different places, and then smaller shops being sold in various forms. But this particular bill was aimed at the beverages, and they wanted to regulate the beverages similar to alcohol. I wanted to, the bill would place the beverages under the regulatory functions of Title IV, which is the alcohol title, would have given a tax break to the manufacturers and distributors outside of the taxing structure of Prop 207. And so there's some considerable issues there. Like if this bill was to pass, you literally could have THC-infused beverages, being sold in every gas station across the state,
and potentially at football and baseball games. I'm not wrong about that, right? It could just be any. And if it's regulated like alcohol, anywhere that you're licensed to sell alcohol, you'd be licensed to sell this.
Yes, that's correct.
And is that not outside of what the original when I say we, our society here in Arizona, the voters approved the legalization of marijuana, or the decriminalization, I should say, of marijuana? It was specifically to be sold in dispensaries, I thought, and by licensed marijuana facilities.
Well, you're absolutely right, Mike, and that's the basis of the cease and desist letter. We worked, the sheriffs worked with the attorney general, we worked with the county attorneys to notify commercial retailers that these products are supposed to be sold in the dispensaries. And that's what the cease and desist letter says, is that they have to be sold in the dispensaries. That's the current regulatory functions that we have around THC distribution. And to do it any other way undercut. It's undercutting, the work that the public and the legislature and everybody that came together to put the regulations around THC in place. It's undercutting all of that, and it's unfortunate. In my view, this is Sheriff Rhodes' personal opinion. The industry began selling these products prior to getting the regulations in place, and then introduced their own set of regulations after they started selling. And that's just not a good way to do business. And so I don't think anybody should be shocked that law enforcement has an alternative viewpoint about this, about this issue.
Yeah, and it's a little bit confusing to me because it sounded like they're putting the cart before the horse. We put the products on the shelf, we start selling them, and now we're going to get regulation in place that allows us to put them on the shelf and sell them.
Well, that's exactly correct, and I think, look, it's not only the public health, public safety we're talking about, but, fair business practices. You have businesses that went through all of the licensing, all the hearings, all the meetings, all the things to get their, to establish their locations, to get, they went through the drawing, they did all the things, and then to have, other businesses come in and start doing things that are outside of that regulatory function. And then, it becomes a competitive imbalance. You have businesses that, do we follow the law or do we compete? Do we do whatever? So, law enforcement, the attorney general, the county attorneys, people needed to step in and clarify the opinion of the law. Now, they certainly can, file for an injunction on this, Mike. They can try to get this cease and desist letter to court and, get the judge to prevent it from being enacted. But we feel like, law enforcement feels like this is pretty solid legal and factual ground here.
Yeah, well, Sheriff Rhodes, I appreciate you being so outspoken on the issue and well-spoken on the issue as well. We're going to stay on this as well. We're going to reach out to the sponsor of the bill and some others and try to get some of the, their side of the story. But I think you're right. People should be concerned about this, not just what it's doing, but the way they're doing it, kind of the cart before the horse piece of this. And I look forward to seeing how this turns out.
Yeah, you bet. And we're, and the last thing I would say is that, law enforcement, there's different viewpoints whether the drink should exist at all or whatnot. And, what we're talking about is enforcing the law as it exists. For government to function, the executive branch, law enforcement, has to enforce the laws, the will of the legislature, the intent of the legislature. And in this case, the intent of the people, because this was a ballot initiative and it's a voter protected Prop 207. And so we've got to have adherence and fidelity to that, or we're not going to have functional government. If they want to amend the law as it is right now, that's a separate conversation. But the law as it exists, a ton of work was put into this, Mike, and we need to stick to it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I appreciate the perspective this morning. I hope to talk to you soon.
You bet. Take care.
All right. That is Sheriff Rhodes from Yavapai County talking about his opposition to Senate Bill 1556. If you want to do some homework on it, we, of course, are going to reach out to the other side on the issue.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Catch up on Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast, and click the button in the middle to subscribe.